Dante's Boxing Nation over here with the man Floyd Mayweather.
DBN Nation, of course. Support DBN Nation. You're hearing it from Floyd Money Mayweather. What's going on?
This is Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder, and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation, baby.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Dante's Boxing Nation. This is AK. Go ahead and visit ashkickit.com, and while you at it, subscribe below, and let's get straight to it. So ever since Floyd Money Mayweather retired from the sport of boxing, the pound for pound number one spot been all over the place. It's been used for promotion more so than to give the credit to the number one fighter in the world. They started giving it to whoever they wanted to. HBO is promoting a certain fighter, they call him the number one pound for pound fighter. SBN promoting a certain fighter, they give him the number one pound for pound fighter. And it's been very unprofessional, because it's not like, oh, it's too many great fighters today that it's so hard to tell who's the number one. No, that's not the case, because in the 90s, Tyson was fighting. Holyfield was fighting. Hopkins in his prime was fighting. James Toney was in his prime. Nassim Hamed was in his prime. Floyd just turned pro. All these great fighters that I just named, Roy Jones was pound for pound number one, no question. And then when he dropped all that weight from dropping down from heavyweight to light heavyweight to defend his title again versus Tarver, and he lost that fight, whatever the reason is, and he was already 36 at the time, so he's beginning to decline. Floyd Mayweather took over the pound for pound number one spot, no question, till he retired after he knocked out Hatton. Then Pacquiao took over for a couple years. Then Floyd Mayweather came back out of retirement and regained that title and held it till he retired in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. So after that, who should have took Floyd Mayweather's spot from the pound for pound number one is Andre Ward. It's only common sense, because he was the number two pound for pound for the longest. The only reason Andre Ward was never number one pound for pound when Floyd Mayweather was fighting is because Floyd Mayweather was the number one pound for pound the whole time. Even though Andre Ward's resume is so great, from the Super Six, dominating everybody like they was just bums, to beating all the great fighters he beat and having lost the fight since 12 years old, being a gold medalist and all that. And I kid you not, they still wouldn't give the number one spot to Andre Ward. Even though Andre Ward came off that layoff, because it wasn't really a layoff, he couldn't get a fight because he had troubles with his promoter, right? Now he came off that huge layoff and moved up in weight and fought the number one mandatory for Kovalev and beat him easy, which was Barrera, for 12 rounds. Then he fought Kovalev, the most feared guy at 175. Guy with 3 belts, been knocking out everybody with jabs alone, not even right hands, jabs, right? He fights him, beats him in a close fight. Kovalev at the time was on the top 3 pound for pound fighters when Andre Ward fought him. Some say he was number 2 or 1, right? Andre Ward beats him, you know what they say? GGG, which is Golovkin, or Roman Gonzalez is the number one pound for pound, not Andre Ward. Now I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, who did Golovkin beat to be the number one pound for pound? Lemieux? Who did he beat at the time to be the number one pound for pound? Roman Gonzalez, when they started saying he's the number one pound for pound, 2 fights or 1 fight before that, he fought somebody with 32 losses. And Golovkin ducked Andre Ward. Andre Ward gave him a 50-50 offer when Andre Ward was a bigger name at the time. And Golovkin declined that fight, saying he want to stay at 160 defending his belts, contradicting himself, because he said he will move up to 168 to fight Froch. But now he want to defend his titles that he ended up giving the belts away now, because the mandatories are getting too tough. He fights Rosado from 154, but won't fight a champion like Lara from 154. He tell Lara, prove yourself and move up to 160. Charlo does that. He keep telling him fight different mandatories. You got to prove yourself more. You know, you can't just move up, fight one person and become the #1 mandatory and just fight me. So Charlo keep knocking cats out. Now, Golovkin in a situation where if he don't fight Canelo, he has to fight Charlo. That's the #1 guy y'all talking about that don't even want to fight the best, that keep fighting, bumps his whole career. He only beat Lemieux and you could say Jacob, but in my opinion, Jacob won that fight. That's the only 2 wins that he has, and that's the pound for pound #1 fighter y'all was trying to say at the time. Now, Roman Gonzalez, they started saying he was the #1 pound for pound too. He moved up in weight to 115 and got knocked out by somebody who wasn't even a champion. And I don't want to pronounce his name wrong, but he do have a hard name. I think it's Wengeek. And he beat him the first time. He dropped him. And then the second time in a rematch, he knocks him out. That's the #1 pound for pound guy y'all talking about. And fights before that, he was getting dropped, looking horrible. I mean, coming off the fight looking like he lost the fight with his face all busted up. That's the #1 pound for pound guy they were talking about, Roman Gonzalez. And Golovkin, like I said, who ain't fighting nobody and avoiding the best competition. Just looking for the money fight, which is Canelo, and letting Canelo control his career like he his manager or something instead of an opponent. Now, after that, Andre Ward came and knocked out Kovalev. He knocked out the power puncher. Supposedly the guy who's pillow-fisted knocked out the power puncher who's bigger, stronger than him, and he knocked him out to the body. So Andre Ward at the time, they still won't give him the #1 pound for pound, even though we all know he was the #1 pound for pound. Real boxing fans, if you got any real manhood in you, you knew Andre Ward was the pound for pound #1 fighter in the world. But ESPN lets Teddy Atlas interview Andre Ward and Terence Crawford, if I'm not mistaken, after Terence Crawford just unified the division at 140 for all the 4 belts. He tells both of them Lomachenko is the #1 pound for pound. Y'all gotta do more work. Terence Crawford just knocked somebody out for the 4th belt. For all 4 belts at 140. He haven't lost a fight since he turned professional. He's undefeated. People say he was the 2nd pound for pound #1 fighter at the time. Andre Ward just knocked out Kovalev. He was the #1 pound for pound at the time. He tells them, y'all not #1 pound for pound. Y'all gotta do more work. Lomachenko is a guy with less than 10 fights at the time. He telling them to their face, after Terence Crawford won a fight, he telling them to their face, hey, Lomachenko is the #1 pound for pound. I don't know how disrespectful that was. I think that's why Teddy really got fired from ESPN as far as calling the fights, saying some dumb shit like that. I'm sorry, but I lost all respect for Teddy at the time when he said it, because I respect Teddy. But when he said it, I mean, I just couldn't picture it in my head. I'm like, I can't see how you think Lomachenko is the #1 pound for pound fighter in the world. Are you going off perception or of what you think he's gonna become? Because you gotta come with proofs. Boxing is what you did for me today. What have you done so far? Don't tell me what you're gonna do 10 years ahead, because like ESPN, when they came out with the list for the best pound for pound fighters the past decade or something like that, they had Golovkin in there, Roman Gonzalez in there. Now, let me ask you this. Is Roman Gonzalez still in the top 25 fighters of all time for the past 25 years? Hell no. especially now as high as they ranked him. Same goes for Golovkin. Now, y'all make yourself look bad, whoever made that list. SBN credibility looks bad now. Because you're no longer credible, because you're not even making errors, you're making mistakes. Huge mistakes. Things that don't even make sense. Now, Lomachenko, when he first turned pro, I started telling people, I got videos of me saying this. Hey, he the real deal. He's better than Golovkin. I think he's going to be better than Golovkin. And I think, you know, he will live up to his hype. But let him prove it. And nobody was on his tail till, you know, Pacquiao lost. Then they jumped on Golovkin. Then Golovkin started looking bad. Now they on Lomachenko. So, Lomachenko, they saying now he's the number 1 pound for pound. What's funny about that is this. Lomachenko is a good fighter, no doubt. But let's not act like, oh, it's not something that we never seen before. Because Roy Jones, that's something we never seen. You would look at him, you'd be like, what the hell is he doing? Because he was the most gifted fighter of all time. Lomachenko, he's good. He has a technique behind him. He has his own style. He likes to do his own thing. He has a rhythm. And he's robotic, like Floyd Mayweather like to say. Basically, he has is a pattern to the way he fights. You could read him after a while, you know. And that's why he got knocked down his last fight. But my question is, how is he number 1 pound for pound? I mean, of course, when Andre Ward beat Kovalev, that's dumb as hell to even say Lomachenko was the number 1 pound for pound like Teddy did. So let's stop that. You know, Andre Ward retired. He was the number 1 pound for pound. He got his credit due after Floyd Mayweather retired and he beat Kovalev. He became the number 1 pound for pound. So the torch got passed to Andre Ward, right? So he retired. Now the spot became vacant. Terence Crawford took it. No question about it. And if you're trying to argue about it, I'm about to break it down in a little bit. Him versus Lomachenko. But Floyd Mayweather came out today saying Terence Crawford is the number 1 pound for pound. No question about it. Because he sees himself in Terence Crawford. He sees pretty boy Floyd Mayweather in Terence Crawford. He got that killer instincts. Ferry Roach co-signs it. He said when Terence Crawford beat one of his fighters, Postall, at 140, he said that he saw signs of Floyd Mayweather and Terence Crawford. And he's like Floyd Mayweather with power because he's physically bigger than Floyd. So, at the end of the day, Terence Crawford proved himself. We didn't give him the number 1 pound for pound spot like y'all trying to give Lomachenko. He earned it. And let's put their accomplishment next to each other in the pros. But before I talk about that, Terence Crawford already said, hey, look, if Lomachenko is so special and y'all never seen a talent like that before, well, let him move up to 140 and let me see how special he is. I won that work. And he said he would beat Lomachenko easy. So, at the end of the day, it's no disrespect to Lomachenko, but Lomachenko team said, hell no, that's suicide. We ain't moving up to fight no Terence Crawford. But they want to say or compare Lomachenko to Floyd Mayweather, and they saying, oh, Lomachenko probably would have had a chance versus Floyd. Well, let me see you versus Terence Crawford. That's the closest thing to Floyd right now. So why wouldn't you fight Terence Crawford and show us what you would have did to Terence, so we could see if you beat Terence Crawford, we'd be like, damn, he probably would have gave Floyd Mayweather the work. But his team came out saying, hell no, that's suicidal. Even though Rigondeaux moved up 2 weight divisions, when he's way older, Lomachenko is in his prime of his career. He just fought on 135. So why won't he move up to 140 to prove himself if he's the greatest fighter ever since Muhammad Ali, like Bob Arum liked to say? He said the same thing about Floyd Mayweather. Bob Arum did. He said he's the greatest fighter ever since Muhammad Ali. I think he forgot it, but that's when he signed Floyd. So we all know he's just trying to promote Lomachenko saying that. But like I said, Terence Crawford challenged Lomachenko. And Lomachenko said, Terence Crawford too big. And it's true, but at the same time, like Jay Rogan, the UFC commentator, I don't know his name exactly, but I know it's Joe something, but he said that Lomachenko is the greatest fighter he ever seen. And I'm like, are you talking about UFC or boxing? Because apparently you don't know what you're talking about. He said it when Lomachenko was 9 fights. Only had 9 fights. He's saying he's the greatest fighter of all time. So I'm like, did you ever see Roy Jones? Did you ever see how good Roy Jones was? Muhammad Ali, have you seen how good Muhammad Ali was? Floyd Mayweather in his prime, did you see Floyd? So at the end of the day, they just saying something out of the book. It's like this. TMT said it in the gym. The fighters did on an interview on TMT channel. They said, look, Lomachenko is not a white hype, but he is a white hope because he fulfilled a lot of people because he lived up to the expectations. He's not white hype. He's white hope because he actually is that good. But he ain't that great like they trying to make him out to be. But let's discuss and compare the accomplishment and why Terence Crawford is no question the #1 pound for pound fighter today, not Lomachenko. And just a little note, I'm putting all my feelings aside. I'm just giving you straight facts off resumes because at the end of the day, I said the same thing about Lomachenko and Terence Crawford when I first saw them. I saw Lomachenko, I was like, he's going to be a problem in the future. I fuck with his defense. When I saw Terence Crawford the first time, I was like, he definitely going to be on the top 3 pound for pound in the future. I won't be surprised if he make it to the #1 pound for pound, but you can't really tell, but that's based on an eye test. But I didn't say, he's on the top 3 pound for pound as soon as I saw him, just off perception. No, you got to prove yourself. And I said the same thing about Lomachenko, that he will be on the top pound for pound one day once he gets the fights he wants. But you always got to prove yourself first before you get the credit. Now, let's compare them to each other since they turned pro to see who the #1 pound for pound really is. Because to be the #1 pound for pound, you got to have these 4 things. If I put you in any division, you will beat any fighter. Your resume has to be the best. You have to do it for a long period of time. And you have to do it in a dominant fashion. So, Terence Crawford, at 135, he had to move up, fight the guy who knocked out Khan when Khan was undefeated in 1 week or 2 week notice, and he did it, won the fight in easy fashion. Then fought the champion at 135 in the UK, beat him easy in his hometown. Then his first time defending the title, he defended it versus Gamboa, a guy who's a gold medalist. Of course, 135 wasn't his natural weight division, but he fought in that weight division before, unlike Regan Diao. And Gamboa gave Terence Crawford a good fight, but then he knocked Gamboa out, right? Then he fought Beltran, beat Beltran like he was a nobody. Then, after he couldn't make it the weight anymore, and he already cleared up the division. Ain't nobody want to fight him. He's the #1 guy, 135, no question about it. He moved up to 140. Fought Postol. Fought for another title. Then unified the title. Then fought a gold medalist who they saying he was ducking. They also said he was ducking Postol. He defeated Postol and everybody in 140 in a dominant fashion. Like it was in a competition. One fighter was an elite, another fighter was either A or a B level fighter. That's how it looked. Like just 2 different levels. Then Terence Crawford moves up to 147, his 3rd weight class. He fights Horn, the guy who beat Pacquiao in a close fight. Some people say Pacquiao won. To be honest with you, I had Pacquiao winning. But it was a close fight. So I could see how people thought Jeff Horn won. So he fights Jeff Horn. He dominates the hell out of Jeff Horn and knocks him out. Jeff Horn is the bigger, supposedly stronger guy. And Terence Crawford moving up a weight knocks him out. And you got to keep in mind, Terence Crawford is not just beating fighters. He knocking them out to the body with one shot. Like the way he did when he unified the division at 140. Or like he did Jeff Horn. He was hitting him with the left, dropping him, hurting him to the body, to the head. So he doing it in a dominant fashion. So that's Terence Crawford so far. What he did and what he accomplished in the 3 weight divisions so far. And I had to summarize it as much as I can so the video won't be too long. Now, let's get to Lomachenko. Like I said, as far as the pound for pound goes, the number 1 spot, the 4 requirements, things that I mentioned earlier, Terence Crawford fulfilled all of them. The time, how long you've been champion, how long you've been dominating, how dominant you are, how good you look in the ring. If I put you in any weight division, how good would you look? And would you beat everybody? So Terence Crawford is that. Matter of fact, he about to be at a disadvantage because he about to fight Errol Spence, somebody who's just probably as good, but he's just naturally bigger. And he's calling him out, and he wants that work. So as far as Lomachenko, he turned pro a little late because he won 2 gold medals. So he told Bob Arum on some gangster shit, I want to fight for the title right away. Bob Arum said, hell no. By the way, Regan Diao wanted to fight for the title right away. Bob Arum told him, you got to work for it. But he gave Lomachenko a title shot his second fight. So he fought Salido. Salido at the time supposedly was washed up because he fought Gamboa in his prime. But when Salido fought Gamboa, you know, Salido was in his prime. But when Mikey Garcia fought him, people was already saying, oh, he's over the hill. Mikey Garcia washed him. So people already saying Salido is already old, right? He goes in the ring and beat the hell out of Lomachenko, even though he fought dirty, ain't no doubt about it. But that's the pros. Welcome to the pros. He felt disrespected because they giving him a guy who is only have a second fight and they giving him a title shot. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna welcome you to the pros. And even in the first and second round, when he was boxing, he outboxed Lomachenko one of them rounds because his awkwardness and the style. Lomachenko never seen it before. So Lomachenko, this pound for pound number 1 guy, already lost to somebody. And he didn't avenge his loss because he could have fought Lomachenko. He could have fought Salido again. But they tried to lowball Salido, like they lowball Regan Diao and gave him $400K to move up 2 divisions while Lomachenko got paid $1.2 million. So they tried to lowball Salido in the rematch. He was like, hell no, y'all better give me 50-50 or I ain't taking the fight. And Lomachenko didn't avenge his only loss. That's Lomachenko's fault. But let's move on. He got another title shot. You just lost the title shot, your second fight, and they give him another title shot. I kid you not. This time they give it to him versus Gary Russell. Gary Russell was good, ain't no doubt about it, but he wasn't tested at the time, so he beat him. Gary Russell dropped him one time, they didn't count it, but Lomachenko won the fight. So Lomachenko moved on, fought a couple tune-ups, and then he moved to 130. So who has a better resume in their first division? Clearly Terence Crawford. He beat a gold medalist. He beat Beltran. He went to the UK and won, and you know, this and that. He undefeated at 135. Apparently Lomachenko is not undefeated at 125. I mean at 126 because he lost. And you know, he don't have better resume as far as he didn't fight better names than Terence Crawford did. So on to the next 130 for Lomachenko. He beat Martinez by knockout, even though he was the champion, but I think he fought Salido if I'm not mistaken, or his fight before that was controversial And I thought he lost the fight. So they gave him the victory. He fought Lomachenko after that, and he got knocked out. He was an alright fighter. I mean, ain't nobody really too hyped about Martinez at the time. Then he fought Walter. That was a good fight. I give him credit for that. He beat Walters. He made Walters quit, matter of fact. Then he fought Sosa. Sosa is alright. He beat Sosa. And then he fought Rigondeaux. But Rigondeaux, all the disadvantages he had, you know, he could have at least did a catchweight with him, but he made Rigondeaux move up 2-weight division. A smaller guy. He was older, like he was almost 38, 39 if I'm not mistaken. Haven't fought for years. He fought a couple times, but he like fights one time a year. And his last fight, I mean, it was like a year layoff. And when he fought the last time, it only lasted 1 round because his opponent quit, which was Rigondeaux I'm talking about. So he fought Rigondeaux, beat Rigondeaux. People, you know, Rigondeaux quit in the 6th round because he said he broke his hand. But even in that fight, Lomachenko, show me his highlights. Show me where he was landing versus Rigondeaux other than jabs or 1 or 2 right hooks for 6 rounds. So, I mean, he landed 8.4% on Lomachenko, on Rigondeaux. And Rigondeaux, they tried to say he's chinny. Well, why didn't Lomachenko knock him out in the first 6th round when he was landing his jabs and right hooks? That few of them that he landed. So he beat Rigondeaux. Rigondeaux is a great fighter, no doubt about it. But all the disadvantages he had, you're supposed to beat him. Rigondeaux couldn't even move on his feet like he used to. I mean, either because he's too old or the weight stopped Rigondeaux from moving around the ring like he wanted to, whatever the reason why. But Lomachenko won that fight. He didn't even give himself a lot of credit for it. He's saying, you know, I'll be a smaller man tonight. You know, I got to prove myself. So right after that fight, he was like, you know what? I'm going to move up in division. Because before he fought Rigondeaux, he fought somebody at 126 who he made him move up in weight. That lost to Walter. So he, you know, is already kind of looking bad and suspicious on Lomachenko because he's fighting smaller guys. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to move up in weight and fight somebody else. So far at 130, Lomachenko beat Martinez, the good wins. Walters coming off a layoff. Rigondeaux coming off a layoff. And he don't have all belts. Meanwhile, Terence Crawford fought for all belts. Beat all fighters at 140. Except the fighter he didn't knock out was Postal, and he dominated him almost every round. So who has a better resume in the 2nd weight division and was more dominant? Terence Crawford. So far, we got 2 divisions, and Terence Crawford has the better resume in both of the divisions than Lomachenko. And, you know, he's been more dominant and supremed longer as a champion. So now let's go to the 3rd division. Lomachenko moves up and fight Linares, who was a champion. And Linares gives him a good fight. Matter of fact, he even drops Lomachenko. Lomachenko goes back and gets back up like a real champion and knocks him out in the 10th round. So Linares probably won 3 rounds in that fight, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember exactly, but if you ask me who was more dominant, Terence Crawford. He was more dominant versus Jeff Horn. And Jeff Horn, a guy who beat Manny Pacquiao in a close fight. You could say Manny Pacquiao's too old. Manny Pacquiao won the fight, whatever. It still was a close fight. He got the win. And Terence Crawford knocked him out and beat him in a dominant fashion, way in a better performance than Lomachenko did versus Linares. Now, that's the 3rd division. So, even in the 3rd division, Terence Crawford looked better, was more dominated, and won in a better fashion at the end of the day. So, who is the pound for pound #1 guy in the world? like I said, to be the number one pound for pound fighter, I got to put you in any division and at least picture you beating everybody. Matter of fact, I have to picture you beating everybody. I could see that with Terence Crawford. Also, you have to be like a champion for a long period of time or been dominating for a long period of time, which Terence Crawford did that. Longer than Lomachenko, because Lomachenko, like I said, not too long ago, he took a L. You could say he wasn't experienced enough. It doesn't matter, because he could have avenged his loss right away. Why didn't he avenge his loss when Salido was fighting, before Salido retired? Exactly, because he still felt Salido's style is horrible for him. Now, again, Terence Crawford been champion for longer, dominating for longer. So he is the number one pound for pound, no doubt about it. He's the 30-time world champion, just like Lomachenko is. And you know, time will tell. Lomachenko still could be the number one pound for pound in the future if he keep working hard. Let's say he fight Mikey Garcia. Meanwhile, let's say Errol Spence fights Terence Crawford. Now, if Terence Crawford beat Errol Spence, he remain as number one pound for pound. If Mikey Garcia loses to Lomachenko, then Lomachenko remains as number 2 pound for pound. But if it's the other way around, let's say Errol do beat Terence, then Errol will almost be the number 2 pound for pound, and Lomachenko, if he beat Mikey Garcia at the same time, he becomes number 1 pound for pound. It just depends what happens. It's just common sense. Now, if Mikey and Errol wins, then they the future, then they fight each other, because Mikey already said, oh, I'm willing to move up and fight Errol, which is questionable because we're not seeing actions. He vacated his 140 title, so he want to stay 135 to fight Lomachenko. He chased Lomachenko. He said he's willing to fight Errol, but he said he don't want no problems with Terence because he don't like Terence's style. That shocked me. How he call out the bigger man Errol, but you willing to fight? You're not willing to fight Terence Crawford because of his style. You saying his style, you can't beat his style? And Terence Crawford already beat Mikey in the amateurs. So at the end of the day, it makes Mikey look bad. So it lets you know how talented Terence Crawford is and why he's the number 1 pound for pound fighter, and why fighters like Floyd Money Mayweather saying that Terence Crawford is the number 1 pound for pound, no question about it. So if we go on the timeline, like I said, from what I recall, it was Roy Jones the number 1 pound for pound, no question about it. Then they try to say after Roy got dethroned, it was Hopkins, but Floyd came on the scene quick because Hopkins lost 2 after that. And Floyd dominated for the longest. Then Pacquiao came after Floyd retired for a little bit. Floyd Mayweather came out of retirement, took that spot right away. Till he retired, Andre Ward took it from him. Not took it from him, but became the number 1 spot after Floyd Mayweather retired. So Andre Ward held it till Terence Crawford came, and Andre Ward retired. Now Terence Crawford the number 1 pound for pound, not Lomachenko. Lomachenko is not the number 1 pound for pound, and he haven't been the number 1 pound for pound so far. Stop giving it to him. Even Lomachenko said, don't give me the number 1 pound for pound spot. Let me prove myself. HBO was trying to give Lomachenko the number 1 pound for pound spot when he was 4 fights removed from a loss. And Lomachenko himself, like I said Terence Crawford the number 1 pound for pound. So what have changed since then? If Terence Crawford been doing him and he haven't lost, then he been looking better and better at each fight. So how did he get dethroned? What did Lomachenko do to take his spot? And I know Lomachenko was injured in his last fight, but hey, he injured himself. He didn't come to the fight injured. He was injured during the fight. Now, I think he said in the second round he broke his hand. Not broke it, but something popped in his shoulder. I forgot. But it was the same thing that Pacquiao was complaining about when he fought Floyd Mayweather. He's saying he hurt his hand in the 4th round too. But hey, it's the fight. Floyd Mayweather fought with a broken shoulder before. Andre Ward came to the ring when he fought Kovalev the first time. You know, he couldn't run the whole camp because he had an injury, but he still won the fight. You got to find a way to win. And Lomachenko did that. But at the end of the day, like I said, Lomachenko never been pound for pound number 1. He got to earn it. Terence Crawford is the number 1 pound for pound. No question about it. Now, prove me wrong. Show me how Lomachenko is the number 1 pound for pound, not Terence. So if you're trying to get smarter by the minute, subscribe below. If you're trying to get dumb by the second, don't listen to these casual ass fans and go ahead and try to argue with me, please. And show me how, like I said, Lomachenko is the number 1 pound for pound. And please don't use the fact that, oh, he did it with less fight. That's too old. That shows you that you're not the number 1 pound for pound, because, like I said, you got to have a better resume. You got to have a resume where you fought the best over and over and over for a long period of time, dominating the best. That's how you become the number 1 pound for pound. What's more impressive? Been dominating for 2 years or 10 years? 10 years, of course. Now, Lomachenko did whatever he did in the amateurs. That shit don't count. Because at the end of the day, that's the amateurs. The pros is different. You got to beat whoever is in the pros to become the number 1 pound for pound. You don't bring your amateur record with you and say, oh, that's why I'm the pound for pound number 1. That support you and your legacy in the future, as far as, oh, he was dominating in the amateurs and in the pros. You know, he won 2 gold medals in the amateurs and he was pound for pound in the pro. That helped your legacy, but not your pro career, because your pro career is solo. It's separated. Fighters who are great amateurs come to the pros and don't become shit in the pros, because it's different. Lomachenko is as good as he is in the amateurs. He's just as good in the pros. So at the end of the day, the pros is different. The amateurs are different. And you got to prove yourself in the pros. And so far, he haven't did that like Terence Crawford did. Terence Crawford proved himself longer, been dominating champions longer, been winning longer in a better fashion, aka their last fight. Nah, peace.